Today I'm going to talk about an attitude. So today I'm not going to talk about standard 10 ways to become successful, standard 10 ways of raising funds, standard 10 ways of getting there where you see yourself. Today I'm going to talk about an attitude, whatever you're doing, how it's going to actually make you successful, and you need to trust me, it works. So first of all, what do you think of this guy? There's always this one guy in the class that everyone hates or dislike, but he's a topper, right? He's attending every single class, like every single day, and we are like, not liking him. And trust me or not, all of us know that that is one of the defense mechanisms for not scoring that well, right? Like they are toppers. They mostly are, very, very dedicated about things, very hardworking. But yes, one of the things that they see as a perspective is scoring well, right? Then there is next breed of people, right? Obviously, everyone likes him, right? So they are street smart. Like they get their way out. They're mostly jugadu, and they figure the way out even if they're not like even if they are the backbenchers. What I'm going to introduce is a new breed of people that literally is sitting, I'm sure, at least few in the current audience, which is this guy. So so this face, I just want you all guys to focus on this face, because this face is the summary of my life for the last 10 years. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate this aggressive. So I'm a very aggressive person. I'm very, I love chaos. That's why I'm in startups. I'm weirdly introvert, which doesn't seem today. But one thing that I want to introduce today is a breed of people called hustlers, right? So what is with them, right? So it's a very interesting breed. What these people think of is that they're battling with themselves. Like every day they wake up and they're fighting for something. Like these people are very rare to find, by the way, right? And they're present everywhere. And you can easily encounter one, if you can have faced or encountered one before. So why would someone need such a life, right? You are being your own boss. You don't know what you want. And the most weird part is that you yourself don't know what you are looking forward. The literal statement that can summarize this is that you're actually running a marathon keeping sprint in mind. So what is that one single factor that why do people hustle? What do you mean by hustling? Hustling as a word is as simple as that they're fighting with themselves or with the world 24 hours a day, 7 days a week and 365 days a year, right? And what is this one thing why they're doing that? So the weird thing is that these kind of breeds are very emotional ones, right? And there is one single emotion other than being probably done by a girl, but there is one single emotion that really is the trigger for them to basically start off the journey. And most of the times they don't know what they're going to come out of that. They don't know whether they're going to earn big. They're not probably sure about what they're going to do. But one thing that they know is that this is not it, right? And they keep on running and running for their whole life. So I come from an entrepreneurial background. I'm an entrepreneur. I've started my venture, and I'm going to introduce a bit about myself first before entering into this. So I'm a typical middle-class Delhiite. I grew up in school. I was typically that ghisu kinds that I introduced a while ago. And I'm sure that people sitting in NSIT are pretty much the same kinds. They worked very, very hard to get to NSIT, clearing examinations and whatnot. But one thing that happened when I entered NSIT in my first year of engineering was I actually scripted the movie Tamasha. How many of you have watched that movie? And how many of you think they are Ranbir Kapoor? No, not look-wise. We can't be. But how many of you think that, I understand there is a kind of split personality out of me, right? So what happened in my first engineering of college is, hey, the guy that I'm in school, I don't want to be that guy. That's not what I see myself as. In my first year of engineering, till my fourth year of engineering, I'm going to post up share some events that happened in my life. So every day I was fighting with myself, who am I, right? Who is the kind of person that you are, or whether these kind of changes are actually fitting into you or not. I started realizing one thing, and I started going to business plan competition that, I can figure out some way of speaking, and I understand a bit about people. I understand what do they want. I understand, what it takes to basically get there. And I started going to B-plan competition and started working on my communication skills. By end of 6 months of doing that, I sold a free software to a business firm for 30,000 rupees. Can you believe that? Like, I expect them to at least Google, right? Just Google the name and you'll find the software for free. And what I understood was that that was one of the very difficult things that I wanted in my life, and I got there. And what is that one thing and the other thing and those other things that I really want? And started figuring it out. So I raised 15, I won't share the amount, but I raised decent amount of funding in my first year of engineering from an investor that was more than twice a normal highest package in engineering college. And there was this time when Social Network movie was out, right? And I'm, feeling very cool. I started wearing headphones when I'm coming to college. And people started to know about me. I sponsored the Moksha festival that happened in NSIT, and everyone started appreciating what is this guy up to. So what I'm going to come at is that, so this was still in my first year of engineering, second year of engineering. And then I started interning in different firms. People said, you have a startup, right? Why do you want to intern in KPMG, right? You should spend more and more time understanding and probably spending time there. I interned in 6 companies, startups, NGOs in my 4 years of engineering, which definitely seems stupid to someone. I value my time and I value someone paying me for that. But what I understood was the whole 4 years I was trying to figure out who I am, who is the kind of person that I would have. And the biggest thing I can bet in this crowd that you don't know who you are. You really don't know what is your strength. So how many of you think this photo, if I would have not press the button and see the word, how many of you would have agreed that this photo is very inspiring? Right? You are a cat and you're seeing yourself as a who, right? This is the most one of the most biggest false positives you can do in your life, right? You don't have to be the lion if you're not. You don't have to be an entrepreneur if you're not. I'm going to come on that in a bit of a while. But what you really need to know is that what is your game, right? And that's a very simple base logic fact to get successful. So one of the very important things that I'm going to talk about right now is that why you shouldn't be an entrepreneur. Everyone, how many of you have heard of this phrase entrepreneur recently? Okay. How many of you want a job in entrepreneurs, like startups and this kind of a culture? Okay. So when I started my journey, the word startup literally didn't exist in India. That was 6 years ago when I started my first company when I was in school, in college, in my first year. And what I understood was that every single thing that I did in my college, 4 years of time, from interns, from selling a software, from cracking a job. So one of the things that I'm going to tell you about first year and fourth year is that there is this concept of non-techies and techies in NSIT, right? And mostly in every college. So this is this assumption that because you're an engineer, you can't get that kind of package as a techie. So what I understood was that, so I have a batch of friends who are mostly right now in Google, Mountain View, in big companies like Amazon. And I was sitting and I got through a campus placement and I was like, hey, I invested my time in the last 4 years quite equivalently like the other people did. I didn't go to the parties that these guys were going to. I was always going back to my business meetings and whatnot once my exam got over and handling that kind of pressure. My value add to my life in the last 4 years is definitely more than them. Why does a word decide my value? Right? Why does a word has to decide that, hey, I'm going to pay you 12 lakh per annum for the kind of things that you're going to provide to my company? I couldn't just believe that, right? And this is what I'm going to come at. So the word hustle is an attitude towards where you're fighting with the world, mostly with what you think your value is, right? I didn't accept that, hey, a non-techies or something literally which you're not, that's going to define the kind of money or the kind of value the world sees out of me. I went off, it was my 4th year, everyone got paced, everyone had a Goa trip, which most of the time got cancelled. And I was interning in Mumbai. I was interning in startup as my last intern possible, because that was last winter internship possible. And that was a job that I started off. I convinced a CEO of a startup, right, who is backed by entrepreneurs from Silicon Valley, 5-minute startups, big entrepreneurs, to pay me double the salary a normal graduate out of engineering does, right? And what I understood out of all of it, I used to get fun. I used to literally play around the gimmicks that, hey, how can I provide and sell myself? One of the things, how many of you like salesmen who give you a Vodafone call or sell a shampoo or whatnot? How many of you like them? No one, right? Okay. We don't like salesmen, but one thing that you need to realize is that every single one of you have to sell. Right now I'm selling my thoughts. Probably you join a company, you are coding, you have to sell that why this code should go out and not that, right? Salesman is not just selling you something for his benefit. A good salesman obviously adds value to your life and then eventually extract out of it, right? So one thing I understood that I can sell myself pretty well to someone at least at this stage, and that's my strength. That's what I'm going to leverage on. Then obviously I was into startup phase. I got my first job in a startup. Losby didn't work out, by the way. We tried for 2.5 years thinking that funding was an issue, team was an issue and whatnot. But the best thing that happened to me was failure. How many of you have failed terribly in your life, apart from like not getting a date? Okay. And what do you do after failure, right? You see that probably I'm not good enough. I'm not like meant for that. I don't care. One thing that you really need to know is that this fight attitude has to go on forever. There's nothing in this life which comes easy. Nothing good comes easy. Any entrepreneur, so I'm like 24, I'm like just a year graduate, two years graduate out of NSIT. And I see news articles about, hey, my startup raised funding, there are people from, a lot of venture capitalists backing me and all these kind of things. But one thing that I know is that that's not going to be a false positive in my life. What I mean by false positive is that something looks good to you, but it's actually not, right? I really want to build a sustainable business, and that's the outcome, what all these exercise has to come out. So why shouldn't be an entrepreneur? Like I got into entrepreneurship field and I understood that, there are kind of things that I really need to learn. Lostbeat failed, failures happened to me, and I got it. Like this is what I'm not good at. I went to join a startup, which was a team of 4 people, and we scaled the startup within a matter of 1.5 years from less than 4 people to more than 60 people right now, from pre-seed to Series B stage right now. And I was literally handling people much, much more elder than me to work along with me, if not below me. What I understood was that a few attributes that I have learned from, I have understood that, and I want to give a shot again, and that's why I have started my next venture that I'm currently doing. One thing that really became popular in this transition from Lostbeat to Reach was that startup and entrepreneurship got cool, right? When this guy was telling about cricket, that actually happened in startups. Everyone wanted to start a firm. Everyone wanted to raise money. Raising money also got much more easier in India. Parents started saying that, hey, it's fine if you want to start something of your own. But what happened is that everyone, because of that lack of self-awareness, thought they're an entrepreneur. Please, you don't have to be an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur is not literally a cool word which you want to be. It's actually literally a job. There are a set of parameters. It's literally a talent, right? You can't be a singer if you have not got a voice, right? You have to accept it. It's as simple as that. You can't join an MBA school, go to the top 10 ways of to detect whether you're an entrepreneur or not, and all these kind of things. You can't do that. One thing that you need to really know is that whether you have attributes to fit into one. For example, patience, loneliness, self-driven. There would be times when there would be literally no one. Your friends are going to get probably promoted, earning literally twice and triple that you are currently earning, and you'll be saying that your life is not going anywhere. The reason being that obviously no one likes failure, right? No one likes to be told that, okay, you tried something, you invested time, and that didn't work out. So one thing that I understood was that two different things, right? Some people have entrepreneurial attitude. They have entrepreneurial tendency. They are very self-driven. They are very focused. They take ownership, right? So probably for the organizers of this event, they were literally reminding me every single day that, hey, have you prepared the presentation? Have you worked on it? Is it all going well? And they were literally hustling to make sure that the event goes well, right? So there are different attitudes. You take ownership of things that you are trying to do, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have to be a founder. That doesn't necessarily mean that you start something of your own. People who joined Facebook initially are more millionaires than the normal startup founder that exists in the world. The standard rates of failure in the startup sector is more than 98-99%, right? Data is proving that. So you don't have to take it, hey, I can't be an entrepreneur. Like I wanted to be, but I can't. No. What you are, your value is what you need to strengthen upon. No one reminds, people keep on reminding you, hey, you can't speak, you're not a good coder, you can't do this, and you always start, being self-critical about it. You should know that. You should know your weaknesses. But the only single time that you should invest on is your strengths. That's the only single game that you should play on, right? So there are a few things that I really want to bring on. There are a few people who, feel, I can really do this. I can really put in efforts and probably see myself building a company. That's fine. You can give it a try. And that's why I asked, one single thing that everyone should do in their college life is start a startup. Startup is not about an idea. It's not about, there were a lot of people that came out of, the meeting room and say that, sir, please let us know how to raise money. how to do a thing, I don't know how to handle this, and all those kind of things. What you really need to do is just put up a fight. During that phase, you are just going to make sense of whether you are good in something or not. And if you're not good in something, please do fight again if you really want that bad. Failure, accepting failure in India was not that good back then. It lost beat. But now, what is the standard thing that happens? Is that I read a Medium article. How many startups are shutting down, by the way? Zimply, Zorooms got acquired, right? Right? And there is more money than you can even think of, right? And why did they shut down? One thing that you really need to understand is that it's not again about praising money. It's not about just getting the first milestone. You have to think from a long-term perspective. And I've, I think, told about this. And the only single thing that you need to sell is yourself. People are only and only going to invest in you, not the idea, not the probably the execution. Definitely that has to happen. But the execution is an outcome of the person that you are, right? So please start selling yourself. You have to become a brilliant salesman to make this impact in the world. Salesman doesn't mean you have to have a sales job, right? Even if you're talking to a friend and convincing him to go to a Pizza Hut, not Domino's, is selling, right? You're selling a point to someone, and that's what you really want to crack on. So one of the only things that got me started was this face. I don't want to look like that guy when I'm old, right? And there would be things, hey, I would have taken a job. All of my friends are in US. Hey, I would have had a comfortable life. But I would always thought, hey, what if my startup or my company would be sitting as a company like Google, right? When I was in my college, I wanted to get a job, right? And make an effort to get the highest campus placement possible. There were people who were running businesses. For example, I won't know the name, but who doesn't want to get in Facebook? But one thing that happened, I didn't get through Facebook. Facebook marketing head is currently an investor in my startup. And that's the kind of vision that you really need to see of. It doesn't matter it's going to come up right now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. It has to happen because you are the one who is going to play that game. You are the one because that's in your cards. So if you're playing a game, probably riding a battle which you are not even existing or being a part of, obviously you're going to fail. You obviously can't just believe that it's going to happen without putting in fight for it, right? So, so one very, very cure of all of it is these two things that we are totally missing. How many of you have patience? Okay. If you don't get a job, probably out of college, would you be fine with it? Do you want to get the highest job, the highest placement package right now? Right? Everyone wants that. One single thing that I personally, as an entrepreneur, miss is I'm very impatient, very impulsive. I want to get it right now. I work it's a sprint, and then realize, oh, hey, I've been sprinting for the last, I don't know how many decades. One thing that you really need to understand is that please don't take a career decision or your life decision based on the present, right? And that too not कि यार 1 साल में मेरी job लग जाए या 1 साल में मेरी promotion हो जाए या what if I shift and earn 2 lakh rupees more? That's not going to help it. You would realize that your time is going to fly off as quickly as possible. You need to be very, very patient about things working out in your life and just focus on your game. Second biggest thing that I personally realized, so one small story that I want to share is, I was from a very good school. I was always in the top class. What I mean by top class in terms of academics. But one single thing that I never wanted was to be the first ranker. Who wouldn't want that? How many of you wanted to be the first ranker? I didn't want to be the first ranker. I will tell you why. I never believed that I can stand out of the crowd. It takes, it really takes a lot to come up and say, hey, I'm the first ranker and everyone is looking at me, right? I was very contented with, hey, let me be in the top 5, top 2, top 3. We are in NSIT, right? We were in the second best college of Delhi. And that was what was happening in my life for the whole years that I was in. And I never believed that I can be the first person or the first person to make an impact. I never believed that I can do that. Weirdly, so, in the startup, obviously, you have more bad days than good days. And you go through very difficult times. Recently, in the kind of startup that I'm working on, we were facing very technical challenges in terms of hiring, scaling team force, retaining people that have joined us, and all these kind of things. And weirdly, there was a time when I woke up in the morning, And I asked my employees and my teammates to go back to their houses and let me figure what I'm doing with this startup or where I see this company going. In that dark morning that happened, I started this belief. It was just a split second where somehow I just forgot what I'm doing right now. But what I somehow knew is that I'm going to be in the Fortune 40 under 40. I just knew it. And I know I'm going to be, and you'll be like seeing the faces. Somehow that feeling happens, that inflection point happens where you see that like right ahead of you, right? And that feeling is what you need to have. You would not be able to succeed a lot or have that calmness or patience that I'm doing well till the time you don't have that self-belief. You won't. Trust me, you won't, right? So you don't have to be the first ranker. It's fine. That might not be your priority. But one thing that you really need to know is just listen to your gut feeling. That somehow knows what you're going to do, right? What it comes down to. Does it matter I'm an entrepreneur? There are news articles writing about me. Does it matter that there is some guy like really killing it in Google, like most of my friends like are? Someone getting promoted, someone getting into a relationship and whatnot. What it actually comes down to. The only single thing that happens and it comes down to is your happiness. How many of you are like totally bindas happy in their lives? Please raise like hands top 4. Awesome. I'm glad that you can have the confidence to say that. Most of us don't, and it's fine, right? And the reasons, what I'm trying to say here is that please fight for that reason. Please fight for the reason what makes you happy. I personally thought, most of my friends used to hate me. I don't used to go to parties and thousands of things that used to happen in college, and used to always be working, and they thought that like it's very cold, like you're always thinking about work or money and whatnot. And I got there. I got a penthouse in Gurgaon and show off to people. But then I realized money is not the reason which makes me happy. Like they say that it's lonely at the top. I'm still not there yet. But trust me, when you're sitting in a penthouse garden alone, you really feel that, right? So you really, I wouldn't have known this till the time I wouldn't have raised that kind of money. I wouldn't have known that till the time I've not gotten rich at least at this age. So even if you think that, okay, this makes you happy, please fight for it. Please get that thing as soon as possible, and I hope that that is the right thing that made you happy. If that's not, please fight again. You have to know the reason which makes you happy, because if you don't, you're going to look like the guy that I showed off just a while ago. No one cares. Okay, let me put a very, very basic fact, which might seem immature to a lot of you. At the end of the day, and it's like a very normal fact that you listen but you don't absorb, we all are going to die. It's as simple as that. No one cares I'm in Fortune 40 under 40. No one cares how much money I have in the bank account. No one cares I was having a happily married life. No one cares. The only thing that you need to care is that whether you have had a good, regretless, happy life in your the whole lifetime. So please, I really want all of you just to, this is the last slide that I'm going to talk about. Please stop making excuses. Please stop complaining. Nobody is listening. You might go to your mom. She's going to tell, beta, sab sahi ho jayega, but nahi hoga. You need to know it, right? They may pretend that, hey, I'm listening to you. Hey, I'm there for you. Hey, I'm going to be there and be here through tough times. That definitely helps. But no one is going to get out of it. So the only single thing that's going to get you out of it is hustle. The least of things that I can expect you all to do is, you want a job, you want a relationship, you want whatever you want to do, please hustle and fight for yourself. No one is going to do that for you. Thank you.